prospers when religion is vibrant and the rule of law under God is acknowledged.
An informed patriot is what we want.
Welcome to Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio. Muscular Christianity, where we relentlessly explore the intersection of truth and politics.
The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so.
Now, here's your host, Brian Fisher.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Welcome to the second hour of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Great to have you in the conversation with us today. Let's talk a little bit about this Bo Bergdahl situation, get you caught up to speed on what you need to know about that. Here is a salient issue that's just emerged now last night. You know, one of the things that somebody that's in trouble always wants to do, in fact, I used to tease my kids all the time, when you start into a project, first thing you want to do, the very first thing you want to do is to decide who you're going to blame when this thing falls apart. That's the first thing you got to do. Who's going to be the fall guy? Who's going to be the patsy? And I'm just teasing about that. But President Obama, that's the way he operates. Now he's decided that Chuck Hagel is going to be his fall guy for the Bergdahl deal. We played the soundbite from Chuck Hagel. He said, look, we were all in agreement on this, but it was the president who made the decision. Now president or the White House is out there telling Congress that it was Chuck Hagel's call. Chuck Hagel was the one that made the call on this swap. So you remember, you know, President Obama, when he was in the Rose Garden, you know, and Marcus Luttrell, by the way, the Navy SEAL that was featured in the book and the movie Lone Survivor, he said, look, what President Obama should have done in the Rose Garden is he should have had the parents, in addition to Bo Bergdahl's parents, he should have had the parents of the 6 soldiers who lost their lives trying to find him. He should have had them there in the Rose Garden with him. But remember, President Obama was basking in the glory and the adulation of having brought this soldier home, took all the credit for it. Now that there's pushback, now that this whole deal is in trouble, now all of a sudden he's going to shove all of this off on Chuck Hagel. He is going to be the one to blame for this. You know, and U.S. intelligence have been telling the Senate, look, 4 of these 5 Talibanis, they're going to go back to the battlefield. They're likely to return. 4 out of the 5 are eventually going to return to the battlefield. You know, one of the things you talk about, let's grab audio bite 13, Jeff, if we can. You know, we've talked about the fact that, John Bolton has said, look, I love children, but I don't want them running our foreign policy. And what we have right now with the Obama administration, we have children running our foreign policy. I listened to these spokesmen, Jen Psaki, State Department, and Marie Harf, and I'm sure they're fine people. I'm not dissing them as individuals. I'm sure they have very nice personalities. I'm sure they're great sisters and great daughters and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying anything about that. But I'm saying in the role that they're in, where they're trying to represent some kind of sophistication, some kind of mature representation of the State Department, they're hopeless. They're juvenile. It's like they're still in high school. You almost expect them to start using Valley talk, like that guy was talking to Neil Cavuto. Dude, that was 2 years ago. You almost expect that kind of thing to come out. They always sound to me like they belong on a student council in high school. Now, here is Marie Harf, and she's talking with Andrea Mitchell here. This is soundbite 13. She's talking with Andrea Mitchell here about the Taliban. And, you know, what Andrea Mitchell was talking about is, look, when you guys went after bin Laden, you briefed Congress. John Boehner came out today. So, look, we had briefings about bin Laden. We were up to speed on bin Laden. We were in the loop on that deal. We knew that the attack was going down. On this one, we have been flying completely blind. And the administration has taken a lot of heat for that, locking everybody in Congress out. 90 members of Obama's staff knew. The prisoners in Guantanamo Bay knew. The only people that didn't know were the people that President Obama had a legal obligation to inform, the members of Congress. So here's how their conversations go. Andrea Mitchell with Marie Harf of the State Department.
But when it comes to Bergdahl, which is, I think, what's most important today, the architecture of this entire swap had been briefed and, quite frankly, was discussed publicly.
But it was discussed. It was briefed back in 2011, in fact.
And 2012 and 2013.
And they leaders, in a bipartisan way, said, don't do it. Don't trade these 5. So the administration knew that they would be getting objections in advance. Is that why they didn't tell them?
Not at all. It was entirely for operational security reasons. Look, we were aware of different points of view people had on this, but a few points on these 5 men and re-engagement with the fight. Under this administration, we have put in place very stringent processes to determine that we can sufficiently mitigate the risk that terrorists, if they, the possibility that these gentlemen will go back to the battlefield.
So did you hear her refer to these Talibani guys as gentlemen? Did you get that? The possibility that these gentlemen may go back to the battlefield. These gentlemen. This is a representative of the State Department. These are people that have been detained because they tried to kill Americans. They tried to kill our fellow citizens, our fellow soldiers. That's why they're in Guantanamo. And she refers to them as gentlemen. I mean, we've got a completely brain-dead State Department, ladies and gentlemen. And Andrew Mitchell does a good job of calling her on this, that, look, when Congress was briefed on the, what Marie Harf and the administration wants people to believe is, no, we briefed Congress because we talked about what she calls the architecture of this swap. In other words, if we do a swap, it's going to look something like this. That's the architecture of the swap. They were briefed in 2011. They were briefed in 2012. And Andrew Mitchell says, yeah, that's right, they were, and they turned you down unanimously. Bipartisan Congress, Republicans and Democrats alike, told the Obama administration, don't make this trade. We are against it. Military intelligence tells us, look, these guys are going to be a threat again to American security. Do not make this swap. And that's why President Obama, frankly, decided, I'm not even going to talk to them the next time. I'm just going to do it because I know that they are going to turn me down. And I want to see that these gentlemen get back to the battlefield. Now, we got another Marie Harf soundbite. We'll play that when we come back. In fact, I've got 2 more Marie Harf soundbites coming, and we'll hit those when we come out of the break. Number to call if you want to become a part of our conversation today is 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Here's a poll that was taken by USA Today and the Pew poll, and 72% of them believe that Obama should have informed Congress before making the deal, and 45% of them think that the handling of the swap was a bad deal. It was badly done. A plurality of the American people do not think it's a good idea. Two-thirds of the American people do not back President Obama's decision to swap the traitor Bergdahl for these terrorists. And 72% said, look, he should have informed Congress. 56%, by a 2-to-1 margin, they said President Obama gave up way too much. So things are getting a little more dicey, getting dicier between President Obama and Congress, because Democrats, Gene Green, who's a Democrat from Texas, complaining, a number of other Democrats who played the soundbite from Dianne Feinstein yesterday. So you have Democrats complaining about being left out of the loop by the Obama administration. And again, evidence that the detainees in Guantanamo Bay knew before Congress did about the swap. American veterans opposed the swap 68-16 back in 2.